Start us off with introducing yourself.
How do I do my?
There we go. Let's do experience, profession. How much money you make in a given year at your job? How many kids you have? How many times you have sex in a week? All the necessary stuff for this week.
All right. Well, so far that's 8 times a week.
I have sex with myself every single day. No. So CJ Lang, I am been playing Dynasty. I've been playing fantasy football in the early 2000s, but really got hard into Dynasty in like 2016. I worked for the Fantasy Authority and Fantasy Pros, and I just got on with the IDP guys as I'm doing some rankings and stuff for them. I'm actually my real life job is I'm active duty Air Force, currently stationed in Wichita, Kansas. And let's see what else. This is my first foray into contract auction leagues, but I've been in a bunch of the pipeline leagues and Devy leagues, so I'm familiar with that stuff. I also run a charity guillotine league if anyone's interested. But other than that, let's see. Married, 30. Today's my birthday, 38. And,
Happy birthday.
Yeah, thanks.
Birthday.
And nothing I'd rather be doing than spending it with you clowns.
Happy birthday!
You look a lot older.
Good answer.
Yeah,
Good answer.
not as old as you, but
You chose this date, by the way.
I know. And I'm originally from Boston, so feel free to hate me. But that's it. Harbison, you want to go?
Well, I'm probably old enough to be Lane's daddy, but I'm not. I've been doing fantasy football for a long time. I can't even count the years. Dynasty, they got me. I started my first dynasty was the PDL league. The Jeremiah and Emma are in. I got into that. Branched out to some more leagues. I know Lane because I was in the Air Force with him. I have retired from the Air Force, but I still work for the Air Force, living in right outside St. Louis, Missouri. I'm originally from Alabama, so all of you guys that are planning on bidding on Alabama, better bring your pocketbook.
Nobody wants Bama. Saban's dying next year.
That's all right. That's all right. We'll get Sweeney. Dabo.
Oh my God!
All right, Tom Walsh.
What up, guys? I've been doing. I'm trying to think how long have I been playing fantasy football. I think I started redraft in like 2008, and then in Dynasty now for like 7 seasons. I've been in like 6 different Dynasty leagues, but only so far only 2 that are long lasting. So hopefully this one I can make a third. Because I think, as we all know, the longer they go, the better they are. Which is to be true with a lot of things. Like when I have sex with myself, right? That's it. I'm from Michigan. I'm a Michigan fan. I don't think I'll be bidding for the rights to Michigan because I want a pipeline school that actually contributes and that makes me happy on Saturdays. Right now, that's not U of M. Yeah, they just bring me sadness and sorrow. So yeah, I'm here to learn a lot. Never done the pipeline. I've done an auction league and redraft multiple times, but never a contract league. So take it easy on me.
All right. Is it Enad or Enad?
Yeah, Enad.
Enad. Go ahead, Enad.
Hold on. Where am I? Can you see me? Okay. Hey, I live in North Carolina. I've done fantasy since 1994. Been in Dynasty. Dynasty Superflex World since this might be my 6th or 7th year. Coach baseball down here in North Carolina. I am in 2 pipeline leagues, which I would say they gave me a good experience to be excited about this one, where in those I was just learning on the go and probably behind the 8 ball, but good to be here.
Cool. Thanks for coming. Drew
Yep.
Himes. How you doing, Drew?
Hey, so I'm Drew Himes. I'm from Chicago. I've been playing Dynasty probably about 5 or 6 years now. I have not been in a pipeline or contract league, so this will be new. Definitely excited about that. went to the University of Illinois, so I don't think I'll be grabbing them for the pipeline. They're pretty. But yeah, looking forward to it. I'm glad the draft doesn't start today. I just spent the week in Vegas, so I'm not exactly firing on all cylinders right now. So. But yeah, definitely looking forward to the league, though. I can tell it's going to be a fun one. So.
Well, I'm Jeremiah Stewart. I've been doing regular fantasy football since 2001, and I've been doing dynasty football since 2003. Tom Walsh was in the OG DFL league with me. That was my first startup, and he just left because I mentioned him, I guess. I kind of came up. I'm not going to say I invented the pipeline format, but I did create my own pipeline format back in 2016 with the NCAA Dynasty, which I think a couple of you are in. I have Tom's in it, Chris is in it. So I came up with that back in 2016. And I know there's different pipelines, but I was the one that just did it where you get a single school instead of a state. And then 2017, I started the Pipeline Dynasty League, which a lot of these guys that are coming over here they started there, like CJ and who else? Harbison. That was his first Pipeline Dynasty League. So that was kind of like the baby that kind of gave me a lot of the fun ideas to kind of go off of. So then I have the APL Pipeline Dynasty League, which it's almost a spitting image of college football, where there's like a ranking systems instead of standings. So how many points you score, strength of schedule, stuff like that is factored into your rankings instead of just how many wins and losses you have. And then, so this is going to be the contract pipeline league. This will be my fourth pipeline league that I've helped launch. So I got quite a bit of pipeline dynasty experience, and I probably wrote most of the rules, if not all of them. What I don't have experience in is contract and auction. So this is my first dynasty contract league. So I'm just as new as you guys are with that. So no experience with that. I've done auctions, but only regular fantasy football, not dynasty. So that's just how it goes. So we got shuffled up, but I think Bobby was next.
Yeah, what's up, guys? Bobby. I'm living in Albuquerque, New Mexico right now. Born and raised, but I've been around a little bit. I lived in New York and Phoenix, Detroit. Yeah, I guess I've been playing fantasy for probably like 15 years. I got into Dynasty, I think, 3 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago. I don't have much experience with, I've done the auction startup, but I don't have much experience with contract leagues or pipeline. I'm here to ask questions. Yeah.
All right,
Tom Amshe?
Yep. Hey, what's up, guys? Yeah, man, I've been doing Dynasty for about 4 years. Regular fantasy for about since maybe like 06, 07. Yeah, never done a contract league. Never even done an auction. Attempted it, but couldn't finish. Yeah, I couldn't even finish the draft with the auction thing. But willing to get this one here going. Yeah, I'm in Virginia. I've been to Colorado, lived out there for 14 years, and wife's from Oklahoma, so there's my pipeline team, fellas. Watch out.
CJ's going to put up a fight for that one.
I know, right? Everybody, right?
Yeah. All right, well, I think that's everybody that's on the call, so let's get into the pipeline rules. CJ, why don't you take away, what's a pipeline?
All right, so basically the concept is, instead of you being, Tom's Killers or Bobby's Boys, you own a college. And I know this might be a little repetitive for some, as you probably are already in these leagues, but basically, as you own the college, you have the rights to those players from that college, not the entire roster, but a certain amount. So, for example, and I'll walk you through mine. Let me share my screen real quick. All right. Let's see. You guys see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So
if you want to show that Oklahoma State Cowboy roster, it's a little bit.
No, we're good.
I was going to say, I see a championship banner on there. It looks familiar.
We're good.
Yeah.
All right. So here's my school. Tom,
Yeah,
get your heart out there.
Yeah.
But basically, so you have Oklahoma. You also have the rights to right here in Oklahoma, and it says quarterback. That's only an NFL, but any draft eligible Oklahoma player for the NFL, you are eligible for. So instead of me next year wasting, 101 or trying to get 101 for Spencer Rattler, I could potentially use my pipeline to immediately put him on my team without having to draft him. Now, I've also devied him here a couple years ago. So as soon as he matures and he becomes NFL draft eligible, I get to populate on him on my team for free. So basically, each year you get one set of pipeline rights, which you can use on any player from your school. You can also trade for others. So if I were to come over here and trade for South Carolina's, then I could use this pipeline on my own school as well. So I could potentially take, say, Marvin Mims, or not Marvin Mims, but Austin Stogner and Spencer Rattler with my 2 pipelines. You'll also get Devies for each.
Let me clear up some confusion on the pipeline rights first. So basically what pipeline rights allow you to do is take from your own school unless it has a different name on it. So if I own Clemson and I trade for Alabama's pipeline rights, I can take a player from Alabama or Clemson. I don't have to just take from my own school. So I don't think any pipeline trades have happened in this league yet, but like I own Oklahoma State. So I have Oklahoma State pipeline rights, which are basically worthless right now. So if I were to trade for Michigan pipeline rights, I might be able to take Zach Charbonnet. Oh, he's already been Devy. So I'm trying to do a non-Devy example. So if I were to trade for Alabama's pipeline rights, then I could probably take.
No, so if it was this year, you could have drafted
my
Nico.
pipeline.
If you would have had this year's Michigan pipeline rights, you could have taken Nico Collins.
Nico Collins, right? Which he already got. He already did that with Nico Collins. So we'll go through the difference between the pipeline, the Devy draft, and the pipeline rights, but they're 2 separate things. So pipeline rights are only to be used on incoming rookies. Devy picks are only used on developmental players that are either a true freshman or a sophomore in college. So after we get pipeline rights figured out, then we'll kind of walk through how the Devy draft works. But basically, the easiest way to simplify pipeline rights is take your favorite college team right now. If there's a guy that's potentially going to NFL and you own that college team, you basically get him for free this year. And you get 1 set of those every year unless you trade for more. So it's kind of like a cheap way to get a first-round pick, because if you own Alabama or Clemson, chances are you have a player that's going to be a top 5 pick, and there's a guy from UCLA who's got nobody to use it on. You're probably going to pay somewhere in between the price of the 101 and his worthless, Devy. So sometimes I've seen some of these pipeline rights go for 2 firsts, 1 first, something like that, but it's never the actual value. So if I was trying to get Trevor Lawrence and I had Clemson, I was trying to get a set of the pipeline rights, I'm probably not going to pay the 101 in value. I could probably get it for a mid first or a later first.
And so like for this year, if for Chris for Alabama, he only gets the 1 pipeline right, so he could basically take Najee. But if he's also wanted to take Mac Jones and Jalen Waddle and Devonta Smith, then he would have to go out and he would have to trade for other people's pipeline rights to use on his own school.
Do we have a list of pipeline selections on here mostly? I don't remember if we do or not.
Yeah, it's somewhere in my Google Doc somewhere, I think. Let me see. We can just go to the standings and kind of see who we have.
Yeah, I was hoping there was like a actual list of who everybody pipelined, but I don't think there is.
So these are the teams that were pipelined in this league.
So as you can see, there's some really good teams, and then there's some teams that probably shouldn't be in there. So a lot of times when we do these drafts, people are after a certain player, like SMU. So Cortland Sutton was a big rookie coming out the year we did this draft, so that's why SMU was taken. Actually, I think the same thing went with who was the other rookie? Washington Huskies. Craig.
Yeah.
He took the Huskies.
The running back down in
Miles
They had like a
Gaskin.
good recruiting class
Gaskin.
with Miles Gaskin. Yeah, so a lot of times people draft for players because you do get to switch pipelines, but we'll get down to that. Are there any other questions on pipeline rights and how they work?
You get to switch pipelines after a certain amount of years. Your team.
Yeah, we'll get to switching. Yes, you can switch pipelines. You can trade them. There's a whole list of criteria how you can switch pipelines, and we'll go through that.
All right.
But for the specific stuff, pipeline rights, does anybody have any questions on that? Those are infinitely tradable, and you can use them on any incoming rookie. All right, let's switch to the Devy draft, Devy picks. So, as I alluded to earlier, Devy picks you get. Are we doing 2 rounds this year, CJ, in this league? 2 rounds per season?
I think we were just doing 1 round initially, and then 2 next year.
So it's going to be every year you're going to get 2 Devy picks, except for this year you only get 1. And the way that works is you can Devy anybody from your school as long as they're a freshman or sophomore. And we'll kind of clarify that as you draft. If you take a redshirt sophomore that's not eligible, we'll say, hey, pick somebody else. So from your school, you can take any time. From any unowned school, you can take any time. You can take a freshman or sophomore. So if, let's say Penn State isn't owned, which that's obviously not going to happen because we have Brian in our league. So Penn State's unowned, and they have a nice-looking wide receiver freshman that's a 5-star, and Bobby wants to take him. He can't because nobody owns it. Now, if he sees an Alabama guy and he's not Alabama, he can't take from there unless he trades for an Alabama Devy pick. So if you own an Alabama Devy pick from Chris, you get to poach him, which is what poaching is when you take from somebody else's pipeline instead of your own or an eligible pool. So we like to, if you're going to poach, we like the poached eggs gifts. It's nothing you have to do, but you'll see it. So that's what that is. If you ever see a poached egg in the league chats, because somebody's going to poach you.
So how familiar are you guys with following college football? You guys pretty avid college football fans?
Yeah. Wife got me into it big time, just reason the past 2.5 years. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so basically, just using Oklahoma for an example, if I own Oklahoma, I could, and I Devied Spencer Rattler, I could use my pipeline rights on him this year. Now, if I really wanted somebody else, I wanted to trade my Devy away. Say I trade my Devy to Jeremiah. At that point, he could take whatever school he owned player, or he could take, like, for instance, Caleb Williams, who's an incoming Oklahoma quarterback, who's a freshman. So, it's the same thing. If some people like to load up and, the Devy draft fever will hit where everybody would be getting everybody, but there's always, a couple from an unknown school that will pop, but, obviously people are trying to get the OSUs, the Alabamas, a lot of those schools, because that's where those 5-star recruits come.
Mm-hmm.
CJ, while you got your screen up, can you pull up 247 Sports and kind of show them how they can find eligible players? So this is what I do. So I go to 247. I love college football. I just haven't been able to follow it nearly as much as I did when I created these leagues. So I really only know Michigan players unless I've seen a Devy article or I've followed Lang's videos or anything like that. But so what I do is, like, I come in here and I look at these football commits. So these are going to be our eligible Devy guys. So go to, is it 21? I think is the most recent signee class. So these are going to be your true freshman class. So these are going to be the guys anybody can take as long as they're not an own school or they're your own school. Now, if you're not poaching, you can also take from the 2020 class. So if you filter for 2020, right up there, you can take these guys as well. So this is what I do. I go through, I know I can take these guys from any unknown school or my own. So this year's Devy draft, you should focus on 2020 football recruits and 2021 football recruits. And I'll put this probably in an email just for a reminder, because we'll have a lot of people asking those questions. So if you go to JUCO transfers, no, those do not count. It's literally only the guys from the 21 and 20 class that you can take from. Unless you're poaching, then you can only take from the 2021 class. So if you're poaching Michigan, You can take J.J. McCarthy there, 5-star QB. Best Michigan QB recruit since what's his nuts?
Shea Patterson?
No, he was
Tom Brady.
Ryan Mallett. Ryan Mallett was the 5-star QB recruit, and he was garbage. But so here's a good source. I use 247 for any of my articles that I put out when I reference. It's just, are they the best? I don't know. I like them. That's just why.
Yeah. Well, as a guy who's in the fantasy industry with Fantasy Pros and TFA, I can tell you that this composite 247 Sports is way better than anything Rivals puts out. Rivals is kind of becoming the Bleacher Report of college recruiting. Everybody's using 24/7.
Yeah. So CJ, can you scroll down a little bit on the running backs? Just go to like a school that's probably going to be unowned. So maybe Miami, TCU. Nobody's going to take TCU.
Virginia Tech,
Utah. So you can get a top 18, top 19 running back by coming to this list, and that's who you can take with the Devy pick, right? You can also go to Dynasty League Football or even follow Lang's, TFA or Fantasy Pros, and they'll give you Devy rankings, and they give you the year they were eligible, and that could be a way you can figure out whether or not you can get them. So lots of good ways to get Devy guys. My favorite thing to do is poach though. So if you trade for somebody else's Devy pick and you don't take from them, you might lose my respect. Unless you're Alabama or Clemson, take from your own school. You don't waste those guys. I mean, look at this year. You missed out on Jalen Waddle, Mac Jones, Najee Harris, Devontae Smith, and you didn't Devy at least one of those guys in the past. So, like Harbison, he had to trade back for Najee Harris instead of just got him on a team because he traded him all away. He sold his soul. He knows what he did.
Hey, I won me a championship.
Yeah,
but here's I won a championship in that league too.
Here's another thing though that a lot of people need to do, and a lot of people don't like to Devy their own teams because they feel like they could pipeline them. Well, you got a situation like Eric Gray, right? Right here at Oklahoma. Well, he was obviously recruited by Tennessee. So if you own Tennessee and you debited him, it doesn't matter if he leaves Tennessee, you own him.
Yeah, the new Oklahoma owner has nothing to do with him. He can't do anything about it, even though he's on Oklahoma. So that's a great point. Justin Fields is a great example. So he was originally a Georgia commit, and the original Georgia owner in our pipeline, one of our pipeline leads, he debited him. No big deal. Transferred to OSU. He's now on the Georgia team. Another guy in the other league didn't Devy Justin Fields, and now he's OSU's pipeline right. So yeah, it's always smart if you get a 5-star recruit, grab a set of Devy, get a Devy pick and use it on him.
And that's the thing that you have to think about when we're doing the draft. Do you want to take Patrick Mahomes at 101, or do you want to potentially take that pipeline that will, feed your team for years and years to come? It's something that you're going to have to think about.
This is recorded. I'll show you.
So if you look at my teams, I'm not afraid to share them. My pipeline schools, I think I got Oklahoma in this league, the original Oklahoma. I think I got them with the 15th pipeline pick. So back then Oklahoma was hot. They had just switched to Lincoln. They had just lost Bob Stoops. So Lincoln Riley was unknown. I grabbed them. They were hot. Ended up trading Oklahoma to CJ Lang, who is now an Oklahoma fan. But I tend to just rock with kind of mid-level pipelines, and maybe I get a Devy every once in a while, not a big deal. But having a bad or mid-level pipeline does not screw you over in the long term because you can trade and take advantage.
Let's look at SMU's team.
Yeah, you can take advantage of teams like Clemson and Alabama who are constantly looking to trade for the things you have. And, so they get a lot of turnover. So Alabama drafted Henry Ruggs last year, and he didn't really do well in the season. Here's my pipeline ranch, which I'm not going to use anything on, and you give me Henry Ruggs, and now I got an upside player for basically cheap. But a lot of strategy involved. You can take Alabama and sit back. You lose a first-round pick. You probably lose a lot of your budget to take Alabama. But, you'll be competitive by 2025 maybe.
Jam.
So look at this guy right here, Florida State. He went in our startup in the last 2 years, basically Devy heavy. So he traded everything to get all Devy picks. So if these guys end up popping, then it's great for him because he can basically have almost a year or two of not needing a draft pick. But
Is that LSU?
That's
No,
FSU.
it's Florida State.
Oh yeah,
So,
Florida
I mean,
State guy. I was
so
gonna say show his
it's a
team
toss-up.
too.
Yeah, it's a toss up because Devies are dart throws. And I actually did an article last year that if you took the top 5 finishers in dynasty rankings, so the top 5 quarterback, running back, wide receiver, only 2 of those 15 were 5-star players. So, I mean, a lot of people go in that, but you really need to do the research. You need to kind of get your own scouting and figure it out, obviously where they're going on the depth chart too, and I said this on my last Fantasy Pros article was like basically Alabama's 3rd string. Dude, they're all like 4 or 5-star recruits. They could make a bowl game by themselves. So it's really all what you want to do. But the research, I got very lazy my very first year because I went to 247. I've never done a pipeline league before, and I said, okay, well, who's got a top 10 recruiting class? I was like, boom, Miami. They had 2 top running backs, they had 2 top wide receivers, and 0 of them hit. And I'm like, fuck. And I had to pay basically 2 firsts to get a decent pipeline.
You got it cheap. You're lucky I was loaded. You're lucky I had a stellar team, and I
think you're coming off a championship too, weren't you? So you're feeling gracious.
Hey, Lang.
I think I was runner up that year. Who won first year? Stanford. Florida won first year. Right. No, Stanford won first year, I think.
What's up,
Hey, Lang? Enad's trying to get in the room.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if you could see him trying to get in. There he goes. Never
Hey,
mind.
Ned. So, like Lang said, there's a whole lot of strategy. I can see it working out if you want to go heavy in a pipeline. I can see it working out if you want to go heavy on.
Thank you.
It's not necessarily like you're building a win now team or a redraft team. If you go big this year, if you take Patrick Mahomes instead of a pipeline, you're probably set for the next decade at quarterback. In a super flex league, which is pretty nice. So, it all just depends on how much you want to pay for a pipeline, and luckily we're in an auction draft, so literally find out how much people are willing to pay for a pipeline. So
We'll find out.
Pipeline almost always goes 101. I don't think it's been a long time since I've seen a player go 101 instead of a pipeline, and I always see him get traded for. It's like they give up all of their future first, they give up their startup first, second, third round picks. I mean, the other team is almost always a contender right away. So the difference in this league, there's going to be really no trading for money. So if somebody wants a pipeline that goes over $1,000, they're going to have to trade for their future rookie picks, I guess, to get more money. So we'll see how it goes.
Jesus, Harbison, mute your mic. Jesus, what the fuck are you doing in there?
Is that me?
I think it is. I think everybody else is muted. You sounds like you're fucking beating off.
I am. As I look at your picture, man. I mean, look at it. I mean, happy birthday to you.
All right. So, questions, comments on pipelines? Any questions?
So we covered a lot there on Devy picks. Sorry, Enad, he dropped off. So this is recorded, right, Lang?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. So we'll let you watch that. I think we answered a lot of questions. Any questions on Devy picks or the Devy draft? All right. Wow.
Good.
We did a good job explaining. Okay, so switching and trading pipelines. We were talking about that. So you could trade a pipeline at any time. Like I said, Lang and I traded Miami for Oklahoma, and he paid me two future firsts, which I turned into, I think, Cortland Sutton or something like that. So you can do that anytime. Good luck, because a lot of people start, as soon as they draft the pipeline, they tend to love it, unless it's a shitty one. So, like anytime you feel like wanting to upgrade a pipeline, send it off.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead, Enad.
Can you switch
To
pipelines?
get one in return?
What was the question?
if you trade your pipeline,
Enad, go ahead.
do you have to get a pipeline in return?
Yeah, you have to own a pipeline.
You have to own a pipeline.
Can you hear me?
I would say if you're swapping pipelines, you have to take their pipeline.
Because you can't trade to get multiple pipelines. You can only have one, right?
So you can only have one. So
Okay.
yeah, you have to get. So you can switch pipelines too. So I'll go over how you can switch them. So if if somebody quits the league, you're a new owner, right? You come in, you get a new pipeline if you want it.
Is this an IDP league?
No.
Fuck no.
Okay, so question. I have like the UNC Chapel Hill pipeline. Sam Howell I get one pipeline pick? Or how does that work, right?
Yes, you
Yes,
get one.
you get one set of pipeline
pick.
rights,
Yep.
which you can use
So
on
I could take
North Carolina.
I could take Howell or Javonte Williams, basically.
Well, no. So if you had a pipeline pick this year, Howell's not going into the NFL. So you could take Javonte Williams or Michael Carter or Diami Brown.
Got you.
Yeah. So Howell, hopefully you debied him when he was a 5-star recruit for you.
But I only can take one player per year.
One player
Unless
per year,
you trade for others.
for more pipeline rights. If you trade for another set of pipeline rights, you can take another player from your school or from the school you traded for.
Wait, so when you say trade for another set of pipeline,
Yeah. Lang, will you share your screen, show them a set of pipeline rights in one of our leagues? Hey, actually, I'm going to go help the babies real quick.
All right, so Enad,
I'll
can you see my screen? Enad, can you see my screen?
We can all see it.
Okay. So basically, say you own UNC and you want to use your pipeline rights on Javonte Williams. You could then trade, say, Juju or whoever for Texas A&M's pipeline rights, and then you could use Texas A&M pipeline rights on Javonte Williams. Or Diami Brown or Michael Carter or whoever from your school. Or you could take Kellen Mond. So basically, on whatever pipeline rights you own, whether it's yours or you've got 6 other schools, you can use all 6 of those pipeline rights on your own school, or you can use them for each school that's attached to.
That makes sense, because you had given the example of if you have Alabama and you're deciding between, Devontae Smith, Najee, so you could trade for somebody else's pipeline rights, but still take 2 guys from your own pipeline. Is that okay? That makes sense.
So, like for Chris with Alabama, he would, if he wanted to take Mac Jones, Najee, Waddle, and Devonta Smith, he would have to trade for 3 other pipeline rights because he can only use his on one of those 4.
So let me explain real quick to make it easy. So when I used my Devies, I had Devied Devontae Smith and Najee Harris a long time ago. So they were automatically going to come on my team. This year, I used my pipeline on Mac Jones because he was the only player I never had Devied because he was just never seen as someone that I thought was going to go into the NFL. But so the other players, when my Devies came onto my team, so that opened up my pipeline rights pick to tag Mac Jones. So he came onto my team, which he's not on my team because I just flipped him to get DK Metcalf. So kudos to me.
So you can see on his squad, he has some Alabama players that he's already debied, right? So he's got Talia he's not in Alabama anymore, but Talia Tagovailoa, Paul Tyson, and Trey Sanders. So when those guys go in the league, those are automatically put on his team. He doesn't have to use the pipeline rights on them because he's already debied them.
Yeah. Now here's the kicker for that though. We in this league we only allow 3 quarterbacks on a roster at one time.
Right, but let's not confuse anybody. We don't have to worry about that.
All right,
so,
yeah, that's
nothing we have to worry about in this league.
disregard.
So we do have a QB limit in this league, in the league he's showing. So,
But let's go to the switching pipelines.
yeah. So
I'm
switching
sorry.
pipelines, you can.
So there's only one quarterback allowed, or that's in the league that you play in. There's one quarterback allowed.
Different league. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
Lang
my
should
bad.
even
Different
mention
league.
it.
As many quarterbacks as you want.
As many as you want. Yeah, unlimited. So
No
no
position
QB
limits.
limit in this league. So you're taking over, your new owner taking over somebody else's pipeline. Easy, you can choose a new pipeline if you're new to the league. Now, there's another way, lack of production. So say you got SMU. Cortland Sutton was taken 3 years ago. Great top 10 rookie, no big deal. But since then, SMU's probably hasn't produced anything. So if your school doesn't produce a top 32 rookie based on Dynasty League football, August ADP of that season, you get a pipeline accrual, and if that happens twice, the next season you get to switch pipelines at no charge. So
Like tools at no charge.
yeah. So I switched from Miami, as Lang alluded to. They were awful. I switched from Miami to Oklahoma State this year, and I was able to pipeline Chuba Hubbard and Tylan Wallace, which it seemed a lot cooler like early in the season than it did now. But I was able to get those two. So yeah, so you can switch if your pipeline sucks. You're not stuck with it forever.
Okay.
And there's another chance for it. And then lastly, I've only done this once in all of my leagues, and that was with Ole Miss when they had their huge Hugh Freeze scandal. So if there's a big scandal like what happened to Penn State with Sandusky, where they lost scholarships, their recruiting took a tank, we allow, as long as the committee approves it, obviously we're all humans. It would kind of suck if you have that, you lose all your scholarships and recruiting, then you can switch based on some of that, but it has to be approved. It can't just be your coach got fired, so yeah.
Okay, that's cool.
Any questions on switching pipelines? Or any other pipeline questions? I think we covered, I'm going to skip the contract and auction rules. We'll go over that after we go over the initial pipeline draft. So how we're going to select our schools are all the pipeline draft slots are going to be included in the startup. So like Lang said, you got to choose, do you want Patrick Mahomes or do you want the pipeline 101, right? Or if it's closer to, a second round of bids, do you want the fifth best pipeline, or do you want DK Metcalf, something of that sort? So you kind of got to decide how you want to spend your money on pipelines, right? You want to go 10% on your QBs, 20% on your RBs, and then throw, 5 to 10% on a top 20 pipeline, whatever it may be. I have no idea. I've never done a pipeline auction, so you only get to spend 900. Go ahead, Bobby.
Oh, I just wanted to ask about the switching leagues, like switching pipelines because the team sucks or whatever. How often does that happen? And say if two teams were to happen the same year, and a school maybe popped up and had a superstar or something like that, how would you decide who got dibs?
Great question. It goes on reverse order of standings. So if you and I both had eligible pipelines and you finished second in the league and I finished dead last, then I would get the first choice of a new pipeline. It's either that or we can put it up to a vote. We can also do who had the last best rookie. So if you had a school that's just kind of been dead, like Miami, but you get 5-star recruits regularly, and I got a school like I think Drew's the guy that likes Illinois, I had a top 5 running backs, 3 years ago. So I may have had the better ADP 5 years ago, but you have the overall better kind of, Devy value. It kind of gets kind of wishy-washy as to how that works. So I kind of prefer just reverse order of standings. Worst team gets the better pipeline.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I think is it APL or pipeline? We have 4 or 5 teams that are coming up that can switch. So we might literally have a pipeline draft, a dispersal draft. So where it goes. Oh, Enad's saying. I'll call Enad later and get him caught up. I think he was having some connection issues.
Yeah, it seems like if it happens that frequently, then having kind of a routine process for how to deal with it seems kind of important, at least.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And like we said, in 5 years, we've done it a time, one single time,
Okay.
Yeah, I think I'm the only one who transferred.
Yeah.
Michigan up until this year didn't really have a top 32 pick, but the guy who owns Michigan was a huge Michigan fan, so he never wanted to switch.
Yeah.
Same with Tennessee. Scotty never wants to switch either. Every year, Tennessee has a bum rookie coming in.
Yeah, and I can't remember what school it was. Who was Ole Miss before? Because I remember we had a new owner come in, and he didn't want that pipeline, so he chose Ole Miss, and it worked out because obviously they had AJ Brown and DK.
Got DK and AJ Brown. What pipeline was that? I can't remember. It wasn't a great one.
Was it California?
Oh, it was Cal. So he went from Cal to UCLA because he came to Ole Miss. So that was a great decision. Actually, we have had it where in the 2006, the NCAA Pipeline League that Tom and Harbison are in, just last year, the old Miami owner, who's Comic Book Man, and myself, I was Michigan, were eligible to switch pipelines. I switched to Oklahoma State, and he switched to Texas, I think. And the way we determined that order, he chose Texas first, I chose Oklahoma State. It was based on the reverse order standing. So he was coming off a terrible season. He got to choose the first pipeline. I was coming off a playoff spot, had a pretty good team, so he got to choose. But yeah, it doesn't happen every season. But there is a season where we have 28 pipelines, and one of them and 4 of them might not produce a rookie this year, and they all get to switch. So yeah, the initial pipeline draft, you're going to have to determine how much you want a pipeline versus how much you want to have a really good roster.
Yeah, Bobby, too, to add on that, you could be like Jeremiah said earlier, you don't necessarily have to have a great pipeline, but you can take your assets like your Devy picks and your pipeline rights, and you could trade them to people that like Clemson, Georgia, Ohio State, Alabama, because we're wanting those things, and you can I guess you could say so-called rapists, you know what I mean? Like you could hold me hostage and say, hey, you want to take Najee Harris with this pipeline, you're going to have to pay up to get the pipeline rights from me. And usually people like me or someone that owns Ohio State or Clemson will pay you first-round picks or a lot of commodities, I guess you could say, to get that right from you.
Assets.
Absolutely. So it can work both ways.
You might have a Devy pick that's worth nothing, like get a 2-star recruit. But if you trade it to Alabama, he's got a 5-star recruit he really wants to use it for, so you can get something for it. I know a lot of people that play that strategy, including myself. So it works as long as you like to trade. If you're active and you like to trade, I highly recommend doing a strategy.
And I did that too. I thought I was going to have somebody to pipeline. So you know what? I traded for in week 3 LSU's pipeline rights 2 years ago. And at that time, they really didn't have anybody. And then all of a sudden, Joe Burrow blows up. And now I basically have Joe Burrow for free because this dude actually really loved Duke Johnson and some other cat that I traded him because he thought he was giving me a worthless pipeline.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. And then he ended up giving up Justin Jefferson, and he lost a lot of players that year.
CEH. Yep.
That was Bill, right?
Yeah, that's Bill. Nobody knew that those guys were going to be that. I mean, Jamar Chase had a lot of hype, but he wasn't eligible pipeline. He's going to be.
Yeah, I mean, certain players blow up like Mac Jones. Nobody saw that. Just a 1-year wonder, and boom, I had the pipeline. I used it. Other than that, the pipeline was going to go to waste because I usually get more Devies than I need and try tagging as many incoming recruits as possible, so I don't have to worry about pipeline. But I got lucky.
Sometimes you get super lucky. Our first pipeline league. A guy had Tennessee's pipeline rights because Tennessee had nothing. This is back in 2016. There were no players at Tennessee worth taking. And he's like, so here, take my pipeline rights, no big deal. Well, come the rookie draft in 2017, he got Alvin Kamara for free. I think he gave up like a future 3rd-round pick for Alvin Kamara, basically. So sometimes just trade for pipeline rights if they're available, or get them to add to a trade that sweeten the deal a little bit. You trade for DK Metcalf. Yeah, it's a fair deal. You got some pipeline rights that aren't worth much. Why don't you throw them my way? You can always trade them to Bama later if you don't need them, or
Yeah.
Like I said, sometimes they turn into Samara.
Somebody will always need the pipeline. We've never had one skip.
Actually, we have.
Well.
in the other league, Ben didn't want to trade his last pipeline because he didn't want to dilute the rookie draft, so he ate it. He didn't take anybody with pipeline right, and he just said screw it.
And when you get Kyle Pitts, you're fine.
That was pride. That wasn't strategy. That was pride.
All right, what questions you guys got?
I think that covers pipeline.
Yep, nailed it.
How many
All right,
Devy picks do you have? Oh, sorry.
So you get one this year in the initial draft, and then you get 2 each year after that.
Oh,
So there's a
Thanks.
first and second round draft.
cool.
And each year the Devy draft is based on reverse order of points scored in the regular season, not record. So if you go 0-13 and scored the most points, you're going to have the worst. You're going to have the worst Devy pick, even though you'll have the best rookie pick. So, okay, let's tackle contract and auction. So how will the startup auction work? Everybody gets to bid, I think, 2 players or pipeline picks or rookie picks every day. And when you go to the auction tab, I think that's where all of the players will show up. I'm trying to find a screenshot.
Hey, Jeremiah, you say bid. You mean like nominate?
Yeah, and everyone nominates 1 to 2 players a day. And then those auctions go until there's no new bids for 24 hours. So if Lang nominates Christian McCaffrey, we all start to bid on him. He's going to show up. There's going to be one page where you can bid on all the players. It's just going to be like, playing stocks or making bets. So you're going to see what the latest bid is, and you can increase it by as low as $1, as much as $977. So basically, everybody gets holy shit, that's a lot for Dalvin Cook. So everybody gets $1,000 to use, but they reserve kind of that hint down there. In order to have enough money completely fill your roster, you may bid no more than $977 of your $1,000 on one player. So you have to have at least $23 left to fill your roster, right? So
Because you need to have 24 players.
You have to have 24 players. The reason why you have to have 24 players is because it's a contract league, and you're going to want to use those years. Because if you don't use those years, I do believe there's penalties if you don't have the year limit on those. So startup auction, if you've ever done any type of auction before, you bid on these guys. If you win the bid, they go to your team. And you win the bid by nobody else bidding on them after 24 hours. There will be a rule where only one copy of a player can be up for nomination at a time. So reason why that is because this MFL kind of sucks. And if you have 2 players up at the same time, they might confuse them. So if you bid on one, your bid might go twice. So you might be bidding on 2 Travis Kelce's when you only meant to bet on one. So that's why we only want to do 1 copy of each player up for nomination at a time.
So you'll see it up here at the top where it says current bid and proxy bid. So current bid, so if I did Christian McCaffrey and I wanted him for, say, $50, that's the most I was going to go on him. Because he's on there for $1, the current bid would be $1, but then in parentheses here, my proxy bid would be $50. So then if Jeremiah comes and says, I want him for $4, then the current bid would go $4, and then it would go to $5 because I had a proxy bid of higher than that $4 amount. You kind of get that?
It's kind of like the bin on eBay.
Yep.
Okay.
So
ultimately, the $50 that Lane's got as the proxies is still the highest bet, but nobody knows that until someone keeps raising the bids until it breaks 50. Lane will always still be the winner.
You know who's got the proxy bid up?
You won't.
No.
But it won't change names.
Because if I become commissioner, you won't be able to see that.
Well, I don't think if Lane's got the 50 on it and I bid $5, I don't think it'll show me as the leading bidder until it'll just show that the bid's been moved up. but it won't put me as the leader.
Yeah.
Until I break the $50 mark. If I put 51, then it would flip me to the new guy, and whatever my proxy bid, if I had 150 off to the right, would keep it driving.
Yeah, nobody will see the proxy bid except
That's right.
you.
So nobody knows what the
Because that's
max
your
bid is
proxy
by
bid.
somebody.
Correct.
You'll just know that you're not the leader until you've broken that proxy, whatever it may be.
That makes
I'm
sense.
gonna go broke quick.
I can see a lot of people using a lot of budget and not having much left over, but you got to fill 24 roster spots and have a competitive roster. So
Now, when you say the 24 on that, Jeremiah, can I bid on 20 players and then fill my other 4 slots with free agents after the bidding's over?
No, you've got to. I believe
you have to have 24 players after the auction draft.
Yeah.
So how does that work? Like if you throw all your money away and you don't, I mean, somebody's going to do that. Somebody's going to screw up. And if you got 23 players, how do you get that 24th spot?
NFL keeps track of it. So you can see
the system won't allow you to do that.
So when you're making this bid, the most you can bid is $977. And then say you won this player with a $1 bid, then the most you'd be able to spend is $978, and it keeps getting up until you fill your roster, and then you can use all.
All right, so it subtracts $23 from whatever your max bid is on the first player, so you can at least bid $1 on.
Yeah, the rest of your team will be.
If you have one player in your team, then it'll subtract 22. If you have 2 players in your team, it'll subtract 21.
I got you.
NFL won't let you overbid.
So you're safe, Tom.
That's good. That's good then. Okay.
So my suggestion with auctions is set a budget. Don't just say I want to spend $977. Put a percentage next to each position, including pipeline, and then go with that. Once you see a player, like say I want Patrick Mahomes, well, it's probably going to cost 30% of your budget. Right? It's probably going to cost $300 or more. So plan for that. If you want a second tier quarterback and say I want Justin Herbert, then say I think I should spend 11% on a quarterback and then 12% on running backs. So just set a budget, and then if you beat that budget, hey, you get to spend more money elsewhere. If you lose that budget, you're gonna have to deduct it somewhere. But if you want to fill a good league or a good roster with an auction, go in prepared and have the set amount you want to spend on each position.
Yeah. So I'll show this real quick just so that we're all on the same page. And that's kind of why we're wanting to do this, some of these, StreamYards and Zooms and stuff. So everybody's kind of on the same page, because we do have some people in here who are vets at, maybe Pipeline, or some people who've done a ton of auctions. Like I've never done a single auction, even redraft. So I actually found this thing. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Football Guys, but they had a great article series that just came out about mastering the auction last week, and it goes through all the parts, and it's really just kind of about what you're doing, how they do it, tiers, some of the mistakes that people make as beginners. So it's some really great information. And then I was talking to Drew online on Twitter, and he's just got some great info. So definitely kind of use all those resources, because just like we said, somebody's going to blow their load for somebody real early, and then they're going to be screwed. You're going to get Patrick Mahomes for $977, and then you're basically going to get scraps because all you have is $1 to bid on for the rest of your team. So you're looking at
really good at making
running back.
Yeah. So
I don't really want to make an hour and a half video, so we'll set up another time to do the contract rules. That way we can we're not going to have an hour and a half long video for everybody to watch here, and then hopefully we can get Frank on. He's a lot better at this contract stuff. All I know is everybody gets 60 years to spread out how they see fit, and your contracts are 1, 2, 3, or 4 years, and you determine who gets each contract after you get your 24 players. And that's part of the strategy, right? You don't want to put a 4-year contract on Julio Jones. He's going to retire soon, and then you get a league penalty. But
so you put a 2-year contract on Julio, possibly, right? Something like that. Yeah.
Or even a 1-year deal on your older guys. Right? You probably put a 4-year deal on Mahomes, and then you franchise him every year. But there's a lot to cover there, and I don't want to keep everybody on until 10:30. So Lang, do you want to wrap this one up and then do this again later in the week?
Yeah. So, I know that we kind of talked about, basically just getting the pipeline and the Devy piece, right? So does everybody feel comfortable about that or have any additional questions?
Yeah, sounds good, man. You guys nailed it.
Okay. And like I said, our DMs and our league is going to be open for any questions. Like I said, I want everybody to be as prepared as possible for this so that they go in, with a fair chance. Obviously, everybody's going to have different strategies. Everybody's going to have their favorites. Some guys are going to go after the vets. Some guys are going to go after the colleges. Some guys might even go rookie heavy, so it's all about what people want to do. So please feel free to ask any questions. We are not going to be those guys that we're going to lead you astray just so we can trade rape you later, because I don't want that in the league too. And that's the thing is collusion, there's a lot of money in this league, $1,000, over $1,000 goes to the winner. So we don't want to deal with any of that shit. So, and like I said, we're all in other leagues too. So you don't want that rep going around.
Right.
I think, Lang will attest, I'm pretty unbiased. Even if I have a trade offer to you and you want to review a trade offer on that same player with somebody else, I'm going to give you my honest opinion if you DM me. I love talking trades, even if it's a conflict of interest. I will be honest. I'll say, yeah, they got a better offer than you. You should take that one. Lang can attest to that. I do it all the time. So I
literally just did that with Harbison with that DK trade.
Yeah. So, if you ever got a struggle in pipeline value, hit me up with DM. I'll gladly help you if somebody's trying to take advantage of it. I'll let you know.
That happens every other day.
What's that?
So that happens every other day. Getting taken advantage of, getting trades offers.
Zach had a question, but it's really good contracts, so I will address that on the next one. I'm gonna give everybody my top 5 pipelines real quick, and then I think that'll be it for me. So I think Bama's got to be number 1, Clemson obviously number 2, and then I'd probably be sacrilegious here and blasphemous, but I'd say OSU, probably the 3rd best pipeline. That's probably not really that shocking to everybody, but it is to a Michigan fan. And then number 4 is Oklahoma. So sorry, Tom.
Yeah, but number 1.
And then number 5. This is a tough one, but it's always hard to go wrong with Georgia. So I'd probably put Georgia as number 5. Lang, who are your top 5?
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty there. Same as you. Obviously, Alabama. I'm probably putting OSU number 2. Just because Ryan Day is doing a great job, and that's just a straight pipeline to the NFL. Yeah, same thing. OU's up there. Clemson obviously is my 3rd, and then honestly 5 could go a lot of ways. I'll bring it up real quick. What the current 247 has for their team recruitings. So this is for 2021. And obviously, I think the IDP guys are in here too, but still, for the most part, these are offensive players. So you got Bama, OSU, LSU, Georgia, Clemson. So, I mean, a lot of the same characters all at the top. But, yeah, you can even, click on it and see who they got and everything like that.
This disgusts me. Like 7 5-star recruits? Are you kidding me? 5?
Yeah.
Ugh, disgusting.
But they don't go until you get down to Ja'Cory Brooks and come on.
What are you talking about? That's a trash team. Don't even waste your money on them.
We all know Auburn runs that SEC West anyway, so.
That's right. Go spend your money on Auburn. That's where we all spending it.
Alabama Polytech, right?
The only league that has less parity than the NBA is college football. Can't wait for Alabama Clemson 20.0 next year. That'll be fun.
Again.
All right. Yeah.
Again.
All right, Chance.
All right. Any questions? Sweet. All right. Bye, guys.
Appreciate you guys.
All right.
Later.